his life. What if someone dissected our life? Goodness. It'd be all over the place.
Would we call that opinionated?
What now?
Would we call that opinionated?
A picky nail?
Opinionated.
Opinionated. Talk to me. What's opinionated?
Well, it's just these big judgments. God, you're going to do this, right? You're going to do this. They are this. It's all an opinion of what he thinks of other people.
He's got opinions. There's not a question. And you know, the one that he is aiming his opinions at is God. If there's someone that we need to do business with about ourselves, have at it. Lay it on God. Don't lay it on your spouse. Don't lay it on your kids. Don't lay it on your lawyer. Right, Kathy? You don't want to lay it on, you don't want to lay it on your employees. Don't lay it on your friends. I know with God, would you? God will talk, and normally when I hear it is when I'm ready. I'm not ready to hear it. It isn't happening. That's as big as assets. That's a huge asset. Everything can be built on honesty. If you don't have an honest relationship with God, I don't know if you have a relationship. I don't know what it is. The message of Jonah. What was God trying to teach Jonah through the plant, the worm, the wind? What was the message?
I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy.
And who does he have mercy on?
Jonah and the Ninevites.
Oh, he's having mercy. God's trying to teach Jonah about God. Isn't that it? Isn't that the message? God's trying to teach Nineveh about God. God's trying to teach Jonah about God. We're just in maybe a little different spots. But we need to know God. What helps us see life through God's eyes? Because that's what we're trying to do. Jonah was not seeing life through God's eyes. He was seeing life through his own eyes. How do we get out of our own head? How do we get out of our own perspective? Because that's the big deal. That's, to me, one of the premier messages of this whole book is seeing life, seeing others, seeing God, seeing through the eyes of God. What helps us see life through God's eyes? What helps us see others through God's eyes? What helps us see life through God's eyes?
Surrender.
I mean, there's different things. A messenger. We need a messenger from God. How did that? How many know? Not until someone walked into our life, some messenger walked into our life. It never happened. We need someone to bring a message. And we also need openness and humility. We ain't going to hear it. We probably heard it before, but unless we have openness and humility, we ain't going to hear it. We just ain't ready. How about love and grace? We need, in order to see, we need to have love and grace. Love and grace needs to be brought to us, and we need to have love and grace in order to be open to hearing. We need faith and trust. Sometimes we don't see it. Jonah doesn't see it, but he needs to just trust God. How do we see through God's eyes? Just by... You ever have to trust somebody when you don't see it? That's hard, isn't it? You just have to give up. And we need truth and revelation. We need truth and revelation. We need the light bulb to turn on. How do you make a light bulb turn on? Sometimes we need to be in the belly of the fish. Sometimes we need to have an angry prophet in our face. Sometimes we need God sitting down with us and saying, "Do you have a right to be angry?" Sometimes we need, He gives us, God gave Jonah that little illustration. Okay, you can't get it mine this way, I'm trying to do it another way. Grows the plant, sends the worm, the plant goes down, the sun goes on him, he's ticked off again. Okay, that's the illustration. The illustration is that you had nothing to do with those Ninevite people. They weren't not your people. I was upset with them. And you know what? They repented, and I'm happy with them. Do you have a right to be angry? Just follow God. The message of Jonah. And it leaves with this cliffhanger. We're just left with this cliffhanger. That's the end of it. And he ends with this passage that you've been concerned about this plant, that you did not tend it or make it grow. It sprang up overnight and died overnight. And then this verse 11. And should I not have concern for the great city of Nineveh, in which there are more than 120,000 people who cannot tell their right hand from their left? What does that mean? There's 120,000 people that don't know their right hand from their left. What's he saying? Who in society does not know their right hand from their left? Who in any society?
Would it be comparing them to children?
They're little children.
So the rest of us have trouble with left and right too.
They're just, I want you to look at them as little children. I want you to look at them. Be compassionate on the children. Be compassionate. There are people there that don't know right from wrong. They don't even know right hand from left hand. They haven't been taught.
I think that's sort of still infuriating.
Excuse me?
I think that's still kind of infuriating at points. I think we all have like some relationship in our life where someone should know better. Like we think they should know better. I mean, they're grown adults that are acting like children, and that is infuriating. I think it's human nature being infuriated by that.
Oh, and I think it is. Until we're reminded of ourselves. That if it wouldn't be for God, I'd be squashed like an ant. We have some ant problems in our house, so I'm squashed. We'd be squashed like an ant if it wouldn't be for God's gracious heart in each of us. But you're right. There's a place that it ain't fair, it isn't right. Why should I put up with it? And so the message to me here for us, this is the end of the book of Jonah. Are we going to be light and salt in this world? Taking a message of a gracious God with a bunch of people who maybe are acting like children. Maybe they're more childish than childlike. Do we realize what our mission on this earth is? It's not the comfort of a plant over our lives. It's being God's hand. It's being God's feet in this world to make a difference in people's lives. Because when the church finally gets that, Jesus says, when this gospel goes around the whole world, that's when I'm coming back. Finally, when the church gets that it's not about the church, it's about the church being a light to the world. And when that happens, we're going to have the biggest party. Because everybody came home that would come home. And God's looking forward to that day, and so am I. So Lord, make this real to us. Help us to see that we're salt, that we're light. I got a clip here. And we'll just kind of close because it's about the song, Give Me Your Eyes. Anyway, he has a Just a little interview on this, but the guy's just kind of real, and he's saying, you know, I don't understand things. And part of the song is, give me your eyes for just 1 second, give me your eyes. Lord, I need your eyes to see. Is that where it's supposed to be? Yep, yep. Yep, should be right there. This won't happen.
Brandon's single, Give Me Your Eyes, received a Grammy nod and is one of the most successful Christian tracks this year.
Please welcome to the 700 Club, Brandon Heath. Great to have you with us. Okay, we talked about the Chinese food and the song. What's the correlation between the two? How did it come to be?
It's funny where songs come from. I mean, a lot of times they just come out of conversations. For me, I love writing about relationships, and especially about my relationship with the Lord. But yeah, I mean, the song was just inspired by. It's kind of bizarre that you would sit on an airplane next to somebody for 3 hours and never say one word to them.
It's true. It's true. Sometimes we fly even longer than that overseas and don't speak to the person next to you.
Yeah.
I know you feel really strongly about that, about being relational with each other, not just believers, but just people in general in the world. Why do you think that's so important, Brandon?
Well, I think obviously it's our calling is to love our neighbor, and I don't think you could love your neighbor unless you knew your neighbor. And I think a lot of times it just starts with finding out what their need is, but also just listening. I don't think you have to do a lot of talking. I think it's just being available.
Do you think there's a need in all of us inherently to do that, and that maybe that's why Give Me Your Eyes so resonated with people, that we want to see each other, we want to hear each other, we want to invest ourselves in each other?
I completely agree with that. I think inherently we're supposed to be together. I think being alone and being an island is being isolated, and I don't really think there's any satisfaction out of doing life on your own. I think it's meant to do it with other people.
I love the title of this, What If We, your latest release. What do you mean by that? Where'd it come from?
It's a strange title. I came up with that from a conversation that I had with a mentor of mine. We were sitting on a beach in Southern California and just kind of looking over the last year of our life and the cool ways that God has been faithful to us. And what if is about possibilities, but the we part, what if it seems to be the beginning of so many great ideas, but the fact that we get to do things together, I think, is what God honors. He calls us out in 2s and 3s, and I think that we can get a lot more done if we do things together.
So when people listen to What If We or any of your music, what do you want them to walk away with?
I think I want them to feel connected, not only to the Lord, but I think to each other. I think when when I wrote these songs, a lot of them are very honest. There's a few love songs on there. There's, relationships, songs about girls and not understanding them most of the time. And I think it's important.
A universal thing.
Right, it's not just me. But I think it's just important to be, just vulnerable with each other. And I think we can learn a lot from that. And I certainly want that to be not only my writing, but even when I play live in front of audiences.
When did you first figure out that you had this gift of being, I mean, it's one thing to be able to sing, it's one thing to be able to play the guitar, but to be able to create ideas and put words to those ideas that speak to that deeper place in a person's heart. When did you first figure out you knew how to do that?
Man, I think, when I got my guitar, which was for Christmas when I was in 8th grade, I got a guitar.
Good purchase.
Right, my mom. I know, good investment, right? Well, my mom got it for me, and I wanted a black one. Like, I was a big Garth Brooks fan, and I love songwriters, and it's such a big part of Nashville. I mean, that people could walk around, and you would never know that they wrote this huge hit. But
Yes.
I don't know. I guess I just tried it, and it worked.
Kept going. Well, I would love for all of you to hear the gift that God has given to Brandon. I'm going to let you go over to the microphone.